The first time I saw my girlfriend talking to someone who wasn't there, I thought she was joking. The second time, I started to feel uneasy. But the third time it happened, I realized something that made my blood run cold. Because she wasn't just talking to someone invisible, she was answering questions I never asked. My name is Alex, and for most of my life, I considered myself a rational person. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything supernatural. Everything has an explanation. At least, that's what I used to think before I met Lena. Lena and I had been dating for about a year. She was intelligent, calm, and had this quiet confidence that made you feel like she always knew more than she said. We moved in together after 6 months. Everything felt normal. Until the night I woke up at 3:12 a.m. At first, I didn't know what had woken me. Then I heard her voice, soft, almost whispering. I turned toward her side of the bed. She wasn't there. The bedroom door was slightly open. A faint light from the living room spilled into the hallway. I got up slowly and walked toward it. And that's when I heard her. "No, he doesn't know," she said quietly. I froze. Who was she talking to? I stepped into the living room. Lena was sitting on the couch, her back to me, completely still. There was no one else in the room. "Lena?" I said. She didn't react. "I told you. I'll handle it," she whispered. My heart started pounding. "Lena!" This time louder. She turned slowly and smiled. "Oh, you're awake." I looked around. "Who are you talking to?" She glanced toward the empty corner of the room, then back at me. "No one." And just like that, she stood up and walked past me into the bedroom. Like nothing had happened. The next morning I brought it up. She laughed. "You were half asleep." But I knew what I heard. I let it go, at least for a while. A few days later, it happened again. This time during the day. I was working from home. Lena was in the kitchen. I heard her speaking. Casual, normal, like she was having a conversation. I don't think he's ready yet." I walked into the kitchen. She was standing alone, holding a cup of coffee. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. She paused, then smiled. "Myself." But there was something off about it. The timing. The tone. It didn't feel like someone talking to themselves. It felt like a response. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The conversations. The way she looked at empty spaces. The way she answered questions that I couldn't hear. So I decided to do something. I set up a small voice recorder in the living room. The next evening, I told Lena I had to work late and left the apartment. But instead, I waited outside. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, I went back inside quietly. The apartment was dark, silent. Lena was asleep in the bedroom. I checked the recorder immediately. And what I heard made my hands go numb. At first, there was silence. Then Lena's voice. "He's starting to notice." A pause. Then another voice, male. Distorted, like it was coming through static. "You're taking too long." My heart stopped. There was someone else in my apartment, on the recording. "I told you, I'll handle it," Lena replied. "Make sure you do," the voice said. Then silence. I listened to it 3 times, 4, 5, trying to understand what I was hearing, but there was no mistake. There were 2 voices. The next morning, I confronted her. I played the recording. Lena listened quietly. No reaction, no surprise. When it ended, she looked at me and said something that made everything worse. "You weren't supposed to hear that." My chest tightened. "Who is that?" She stared at me for a long moment, then sighed. "I was hoping we'd have more time." "More time?" "For what?" I asked. She stood up slowly, then walked toward me. "Alex, do you remember how we met?" I blinked. "Of course I do." "At the bookstore," I said. She tilted her head slightly. "No," she said softly. "That's just what you think." The room felt like it was spinning. "What are you talking about?" She didn't answer. Instead, she walked past me and picked up my phone from the table, unlocked it, and handed it back to me. "Look at your photos." My hands were shaking as I opened my gallery. Everything looked normal. Pictures of us, trips, dinners, memories. Then I noticed something strange. There were gaps. Entire weeks missing. "What is this?" I asked. Lena looked at me calmly. "You don't remember those days?" A cold feeling spread through my chest. "Why wouldn't I remember?" She hesitated, then said it. "Because you weren't supposed to." The room went silent. For a moment, I thought she was joking, but her expression didn't change, not even slightly. "Alex, we didn't meet a year ago." "We met 3 years ago." My heart started racing. "That's not possible." She walked closer. "You've forgotten twice already." "Forgotten? What are you talking about?" She took a deep breath, then finally told me the truth. The voice on the recording wasn't in the room. It was coming from a device, a small implant, inside my head. I laughed. I had to, because it sounded insane. But Lena didn't laugh. "You were part of a clinical trial," she said. "They were testing memory manipulation." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "You volunteered," she continued. "At least, that's what they told you. They erased your memory after each phase and started again." My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. "No," I said. "That's not real." She stepped closer. "Then how do you explain the recording?" I couldn't. "That voice," she said softly, "is one of the researchers." "And me?" My voice cracked. "What are you?" She looked at me for a long time, then finally answered, "I was assigned to you." "Assigned?" "To observe you," she said, "to build a relationship, to see how you respond emotionally after memory resets." The words didn't make sense, but at the same time, they explained everything. The gaps, the missing time, the strange conversations. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Because that was the part I didn't understand. If it was all true, why tell me now? Lena's expression changed. For the first time, she looked unsure. "Because this time," she said quietly, "I didn't follow the protocol." My heart skipped. "What does that mean?" She hesitated, then whispered, "I didn't report everything." The room went completely still. "Why?" She looked at me, and for the first time, she didn't look like someone observing me. She looked like someone scared. Because I think they're lying. A cold chill ran through my body. About what? She took a step back. They said this was voluntary. They said you agreed to it. But I've seen the full files. And you didn't. My mind went blank. Then why am I here? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked toward the window and looked outside. They needed someone who wouldn't be missed. The words hit harder than anything else. Alex, you don't have any records before 3 years ago. No family, no history. No one looking for you. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. So what happens now? I asked. She turned toward me slowly. That depends. On what? On whether you believe me. I didn't know what to say. Everything felt unreal, but at the same time, too real. Because deep down, something inside me knew that this wasn't the first time I had this conversation, and that terrified me more than anything else. That night we didn't sleep. We packed a bag, left the apartment, and drove without a destination. Lena said we had to disappear, that they would come for me, for both of us. We drove for hours, through empty roads, dark highways, and no plan, just moving. At sunrise, we stopped at a gas station. I went inside to buy coffee. When I came back, Lena was gone. The car door was open, the passenger seat empty. No note, no message, nothing. Just like that, she disappeared. At first, I panicked. I searched the area, called her phone, nothing. Then I noticed something on the dashboard, a small device, black, blinking. I picked it up slowly, and that's when I heard the voice again. Clear, no static. Subject is alone. My blood ran cold. We're ready for the reset. I dropped the device, tried to run, but it was too late. Because in that moment, everything went black. When I woke up, I was in my apartment, in my bed, sunlight coming through the window. Everything looked normal, peaceful, like nothing had ever happened. Then I heard a voice from the kitchen. "Good morning," Lena said. I walked out slowly. She was making coffee, smiling, like always. "Did you sleep well?" she asked. I stared at her, trying to remember anything, but my mind was empty, clean, blank. I shook my head. "Yeah," I said. "I think so." She handed me a cup, and for a moment, I felt like everything was normal, like we had just met, like this was the beginning. But as I took the cup, I noticed something strange, a small scar, just behind my ear. And for a split second, I felt something, a memory, a voice, a warning. But it disappeared as quickly as it came. And just like that, everything felt normal again, like it always does, at the beginning.